Okay. Hi, I'm Ellie Sutton.
And I'm Lily Clark. We're going to talk about parent involvement practices of farm working immigrant mothers in rural communities by Rosa Manso.
And we're going to start off with a summary portion. And this article talked a lot about the positive impacts and about the parental involvement of farm working parents, especially immigrant mothers. And this was such an interesting article because it actually focused on the positive impacts of parenthood. And this article also talked about how there could be tension that arises from the miscommunication and also blurred lines of parent involvement and what that should look like based on the perspectives of parents, but also based on the perspectives of teachers. So that was something that was pretty prevalent in the article. And this can be because parents don't necessarily understand the CCW, or the community cultural wealth, and the 6 types of cultural wealth that included aspirational capital, linguistic capital, navigational capital, social capital, familial capital, and resistant capital. And the Latinos are recognized, are not usually recognized for these types of cultural wealth. But once teachers are on the same page as parents and they understand these types of wealth, then they are truly able to help their students in their best way possible. Another thing that was really interesting about this article and that it talked a lot about was the homework help that the parents were willing, and then the mothers were willing to give, and the efforts that they went to translanguage and to help them in the best of their abilities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a lot of the time we kind of assume that parents can't help because maybe they don't have like a very high education, so maybe they don't know like the concept or the content material that the children are learning, or maybe they struggle with language barriers, so they can't necessarily complete the homework in English. But they have other ways of providing really, really good learning environments at home. One way is that they do prioritize homework. They have really, really high expectations for their children, and they help students to complete their homework assignments on time and consistently because of those high expectations. And then also because this Latino community speaks mostly Spanish, but sometimes other language, students are oftentimes translanguaging with their parents when they're explaining concepts or helping to translate things so that their parents can help. And that helps develop like deeper understanding because they're using those higher like psychological functions to actually teach the material that the students are learning in English to their parents so that their parents can help them. So it's working together, and they're very collaborative together when they're teaching and tutoring their students at home. And then parents also help by focusing a lot on community and building good communities with other Latino parents and other parents in general. They tend to talk a lot about what they're doing to help their students, or asking for advice and for help, and building just kind of like broader networks where students can get help from. And then and so as educators, some things that we can do is acknowledge that parents are helping a lot and that there is a power imbalance at schools that is causing a barrier. So when we can acknowledge that and acknowledge that parents are doing good things, we can help them more and value the contributions that parents are making.
Okay, now we're going to move on to the praxis portion. One thing that I really loved from this article was when it talked about consejos, and which is how the parents were able to kind of motivate their children and help put them on the path of success. We talked a little bit about this in class, and Dr. Freire was talking about the different ideas he had for utilizing field trips and reaching out to community members and representatives for different colleges. And so in my classroom, I want to be able to show the importance of choosing a path for my students, not just that they need to be complacent and they need to do only exactly what their parents had done, or that they will stay at home and in their parents' basement for the rest of their lives. But I want them to see that they have a lot of doors and a lot of opportunities for the future. So it's not necessarily that they have to pursue a college education, but I want them to know that there's that option, as well as there's technical schools, trade schools, all these different things, and just to open their minds and help them realize that there's so many different kinds of paths that they could choose.
Mm-hmm. For me, I want to make sure that I am, I guess, more aware of the way that I think about and talk about my students and their families. I want to make sure that I am not having kind of like this deficit mindset where I put the blame on the parents. Instead, I want to focus on, the good things that they're doing and the successes and things that our children or students are having despite the challenges. And I think that by focusing on those good things and celebrating the success and progress that our students are making, I will be able to develop, I guess, better relationships with parents and be able to be part of their community and part of that network that is there to support the students instead of like put them down, I guess. Which kind of like what she was talking about can motivate students to reach higher, make big goals and believe in themselves, and also motivate parents that they are doing good and that they are participating in good ways.
Okay, we'll now talk about the reflection portion. I personally really like this article. I love the way that the author wrote it. I felt like it was very enjoyable to read, not necessarily but kind of entertaining, but enjoyable to read, almost like a book. And I felt that the positive note that this article hit on was very refreshing as compared to some of the other articles that feel like it's just negative and like there's no answer, no solution. And so I love the different positive focus, and that they really I feel like the author really convinced me that there is such an amazing Latino family and those who are farm working immigrants, that they really do try to love and support their children, and they are able to help their children succeed. So it was really awesome to see that other side of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also really loved this article. Something that I thought was really interesting was the focus that the farm working Latino mothers had on community and reaching out to other people and having those social and cultural forms of wealth that they can contribute to their children. So I just thought that was really cool and something that is very beautiful about that culture, something that we should encourage and recognize the value of.